سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة صدق الله العظيم. We quickly translate that. Rabbul Alamin, the Lord says, Udu ila sabili rabbik. Call people towards the path of Allah, your Lord. Bil hikmah, with wisdom. Wal mu'idatil hasana, and good character. And part of good character, and we know how important good character is. Yeah? Yes. The Prophet ﷺ said on the Day of Judgment, when the scales are put forward, and the good and the bad deeds are to be put on the scales and to be weighed, whether you've lived a righteous good life or whether you've lived a life where you've disobeyed Allah and you've hurt people around you. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the heaviest thing on that scale is not going to be your prayers, it's not going to be the fasts that you do in the month of Ramadan or the Hajj that you do. He said that the heaviest thing that will outweigh any other deed will be good character. That is the most important thing that a Muslim takes away as what we are taught from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And part of that, building good character and the society, the world we live in now, is to have and to portray yourself over social media as well. Just the way you have a presence, you're in the masjid and people know you, the same way people know you online as well. The way you speak, the way you get around and you make friends in real life, we live a similar life online as well, a virtual life we live. We make friends online and we follow people online and we do lots of things online, don't we? Yeah? Yes. Put your hands up if you have a mobile phone. Sorry, I should put your hand up if you don't have a mobile phone. That would be the better one. Okay, the rest will have mobile phones. Put your hands up if you have access to a mobile device. Everyone. Yeah? Everyone's using a laptop or a computer, a tablet, a mobile phone. Yeah? All these things we're using all the time. But what we want to know today is what are the harms of social media? What is happening on social media that you children need to be aware of? So many websites we use, so many links we open, and so much content crosses our eyes every day we see. What can we see? What can we not see? And to my right, we have a guest today. And we want to thank him on behalf of Central Mosque, the management, the teachers, for Officer PC Luke, who's given us his precious time, who's come from GMP. He is based in Bury, but he's a supervisor for the whole of Greater Manchester. Yeah? So somebody that's been working with GMP for a long time. He's not only a police officer, but the only thing he's not got is his gun today. No, he's not got that with him. But next time we can ask him to bring that as well, and his handcuffs and the pepper spray and all the things that you see police officers walking around with. He has all of that stuff. But he's not brought it because he doesn't want to scare anybody today. Yeah? You want to make friends with him today, next time he can scare you as well. But Officer Luke, he'll be with us today this evening. He's got a presentation. I'm going to pass the mic to him, and whilst he introduces himself, we will quickly set up the TV and everything's ready. And then we can start with the presentation. You guys ready for this one? Yeah! Okay, he's going to be asking you questions, and when he does, I want you guys to put your hand up and nobody shouts. Okay? Put your hand up and you answer the questions, and after that we'll have our workshop as well. So we pass it on to Luke. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Obviously I've been asked to come here and speak to you all about obviously safety online. Obviously I work in what's called the crime recording unit. I deal with the large majority of crimes that occur in Greater Manchester. And more we see kids getting involved in threatening each other, involved in other different parts of criminality. So obviously a big part of what I'll be talking about today is what English law states about these things. However, obviously keep in mind about what your teachers have told you about what it says in the Quran. and obviously what you are to do in obviously to be a righteous person for Allah. So obviously I've worked in crime recording for 6 years, so I've known the ins and outs of criminal law throughout that whole time period, dealing with all sorts of different incidents. I'll talk to you a little bit about some of them. I'll edit a little bit of them out, obviously. And obviously, yeah, so just a big thing of it is, at the end of the day, is don't be scared of the police. At the end of the day, we're there to help people, whether it be the offender or and also the victim. Yeah.
I saw when we were doing the mass, I saw police behind me.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we saw police right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, because as I say, if you ever need some help, don't be scared to go to the police, because we've joined that job to help people. And yes, you'll hear the odd thing online about, oh, this cop's done this or this cop's done that. And like the vast majority of people were there to help you. As any other walk of life, you do get the odd bad apple, and we want to get them out of the force just as much as any of you guys do. So obviously a big part of what I'm obviously going to talk about online safety. So in your day-to-day lives, there's going to be a big part of whether it's in school, at home, with your mates. You're going to be looking at different things online, and also you're going to be sending messages to each other. No doubt some of those things might not be the best thing. It might be threatening, it might be because you got annoyed with somebody. Obviously we know that's not the right thing to do. So as I say, I've been as I say, I've been a crime recording supervisor for I've been working crime recording for 6 years, and I'm also a special constable. So, thank you. Right, so if any of you guys want to eventually look at being in the police, obviously when you become, when you're about 18, you'll be able to look at possibly becoming what's called a volunteer police officer, so that's a special constable. So when I'm in my full uniform, I look no different to a cop. I've got my baton, I've got my cuffs, everything else. So if ever you wanted to ever look into that, you can obviously come to me and let me know at the end of it. And obviously then, there's a lot of people who become volunteer police officers because they want to see, is it something they want to do? Right, so big thing that we deal with is what's called malicious communications. So this is messages that you send to each other, but it's not what you should be sending to each other. So anyone got any ideas of what that could be? So yeah, swear words. Yeah, obviously. So go on. Yeah, threats. Right, so basically it's anything that's of a threatening nature, grossly offensive, or is a lie in order to make somebody obviously feel under duress, feel anxious about that. So if you get annoyed with somebody and you want to send them a threat, say next time I see you, you're not going to have as many teeth as the last time I saw you, then it's quite clear that's a threat. Obviously, stalking and harassment, this would be more for like your older guys, but obviously it's something that obviously you need to be aware of. So this is what's called like a course of conduct. So if you message somebody more than two times or more, that is where that person does not want you to contact them, and they've told you they do not want you to contact them. That's where we can find these types of offences of harassment and stalking. So there's a bit of a difference between the two. So harassment, obviously, apologies some of the little kids, I'm probably losing you here. So harassment, it's kind of, you've got a bit of a disagreement with somebody. So for all little kids, if one kid stole your toy and you're not happy about it, and then you send them loads of messages, that's what fall under harassment. So stalking is a little bit more what's called like malicious. So this is where it's more of on the individual scale. So for stalking, we look at things like boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife type of dynamic. So obviously apologies if I'm losing, as I say, some of you. But obviously these are some quite serious offences. Malicious Communications is 2 years maximum sentence, but obviously at the end of the day, as I say, we're there to help people, whether they be the offender or the victim, because at the end of the day we just want everybody to just get along. So a big thing about what can you do. So if you're receiving messages off somebody online, whether it be on social media, text, phone calls, what's something that you guys can do to stop that? Yeah. Yeah, you can contact the police. What else? Yeah, report it. Yeah. Yeah, block them. That's a big thing. Oh, come on. Oh, don't worry. Yeah, tell an adult. That's another big thing for obviously you young ones. Tell your parents. I know a lot of kids, like when you have something going on in your life, you want to tell your mates. But at the end of the day, your mates are probably going to have as much experience as your parents, or the teachers in here, or your teachers at school. They're not going to have as much experience of how to deal with it. Some of your mates might tell you, oh, send a message back, or something like that, and we know that's not the right thing to do. So, obviously, just keep that in mind. Right. So, criminal exploitation. So, a lot of what we get online is kids end up being targeted by offenders because they want something out of you. They want, at the end of the day, because all of these three elements, all they're caring about is the money. They care about how much money am I getting. They don't care what any of you guys think. That's all they're worried about. So a big thing that obviously we know about is obviously drugs in our society. A lot of obviously younger kids, particularly more probably teenagers, probably peer pressure. You might get asked, oh, let's just have a bit of weed on the side, or have a look at what other offences of other drugs that might be. Obviously, narcotics, big thing. Obviously, we all know they're illegal. Obviously, so I'm teaching you what it says, obviously, in English law. So, a big thing, obviously, that I see in younger kids, cannabis. Obviously, some experience that I've got of dealing with incidents that involve cannabis. There's a lot of, with this, obviously with cannabis at the end of the day, what some of these people that grow them do is they pump these plants with chemicals that in order to make them grow quicker. And what those chemicals do is alter the brain chemistry. Now today I was on a job and I had to deal with somebody. He was presenting as had quite a lot of mental health issues. He was having thoughts, he was hearing voices, and he was having conversations with people that were not there. And he was saying he was having conversations with his neighbour. Now there was no house around him for a long way. And then it was not surprising to me that he told me that he smoked cannabis every day. So that's the type of thing that you can end up falling into with these types of mental health issues if you end up going into those, because those are also gateway. Cannabis is a big gateway drug where you can end up into more hardcore stuff which can absolutely ruin your life. So a big one of money laundering. A big one that we've had is unfortunately kids get asked by somebody online, oh, I'm going to send you £1,000, and then if you get that into your bank account, you get to keep 100 of it. And then what we'll want is that money to be transferred elsewhere. But obviously that falls under these types of offences. These are really serious offences when it comes to obviously what's called like money laundering. So money laundering is money which has been made from criminal activities. So as I say, something like drug dealing and obviously other aspects of it. So with those types of things, your bank account can end up being frozen by the bank. The bank will think, why have you been suddenly given a load of money? Why is it that this amount of money that you've suddenly got, it's come from a suspicious account, it's become from an account that we know is quite dodgy, that we're keeping an eye on. So we're going to stop all money going out of your account. So if you want to go home and buy some pick and mix sweets or your can of pop, obviously you're not going to be able to do that because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to buy anything. I know it's obviously a bit young for some of you kids, but just so you know, if ever someone says, have some money, if it's too good to be true, it often is. Obviously organised crime groups, so they do in particular target younger kids in order to get them to commit offences for them, ferry around drugs, keep hold of them, keep them in cars. These are obviously offences if you're found in just possession of these types of offences. There's no defence for, oh, I was just holding on to it for my mate. Or anything like that. So, and these types of organised crime groups, they are investigated quite thoroughly by police. So there's a big thing of what we do is we follow the money. So if we catch Mr. Big at the top, we're going to look at where's all this money gone to, who's it gone to, and as we know online, everything that we do is tracked, that we can see, particularly with banking, we can see where all money ends up. So at the end of the day, if you get a message of somebody you do not know and they say have some money or something like that, just tell your parent, tell their teachers, something like that. Don't go to your mates who will say, oh, that sounds like a good deal, let's get some money. Because at the end of the day you can find yourself in a lot of hot water. Right. So a big thing about fraud. So something I've seen recently with a lot of kids, they end up falling into what's called get-rich-quick schemes. So some people online, well, you see more particularly now with what's called cryptocurrency. So this is the type of money that happens that's online. And a lot of people, what they're telling you to do is put some money in this, send me some money and I'll return it back to you in. So if you give me £100, I'll give you £1,000 back. At the end of the day, that person just wants you to give their money. They don't care about yourselves. That's these big rich, obviously quick schemes. A lot of younger people, I'd say more teenagers, end up falling into this because they think, oh, I'm going to make a bit of money here. And then, obviously, then they realise, oh, I've lost all my money, I can't get it back, I don't know where it is. Because by the time that you've realised what's going on, it's ended up Cayman Islands, to Cuba, to wherever, so it's quite difficult to track. I've obviously already covered bank account transactions, so all of you guys have got a phone. How many of you have received a text saying your parcel has arrived or your parcel's waiting yet? Yeah, so quite a few of you have. So what a big thing about those is, these people, they want you to click on a link and then put all your information in there. Or they want you to put mum and dad's information in there because They can be quite crafty in how they word particular text, particular emails. So what they do is they ask you to put in your personal information, and then they'll say something like, oh, in order to release some amount of money, or in order to release your item, you need to give us some money. You need to give us £100 so we can send it on to you. So what a lot of people are doing, they fall for this, and then what they end up doing is sending that money, but they're not realising they've got all their bank account information. So whoever's on the other end of that line, they can obviously gain access to your accounts. So the last bit, obviously I won't go into too much detail, but if you receive a message online from a female, obviously because you're all blokes here, so if you receive a message from a female saying, oh, you look very nice, would you be able to go on webcam with me? If it's someone you do not know, do not go on that webcam. At the end of the day, because what that person does, they film whatever goes on during that webcam chat, and then they will say to you, right, give me that money, or that video's going online. So, big thing, if it's somebody you do not know online, don't enter into a video call with them, and also block them. That's a big thing about all these things. If you start receiving these messages from people who are frauds, who are quite clearly frauds, because I've had one the other month where it was someone's an email of Jesus Christ saying that the Bible was written wrong and cannabis oil was the correct way to cure all ailments. Now, quite clearly, that is definitely wrong. And obviously, I'm sure you'll all have some funny emails you might receive during your life. Quite a few are off Nigerian princes or other people. Right, I'll go over that one obviously with the old lot later on. So, big thing about security online. Oh, go on.
How do they get your number?
How do they get your number?
Yeah, like through text.
Right, so a big thing about sometimes with your number with personal information online is that sometimes, like so with particular companies, they will gather the information and then it will be sold. Sometimes, obviously, you need to obviously be careful about the terms and conditions that you obviously add. Like so, you know, with all these apps. Right, so how many people knew that if you've got TikTok on your phone, you're sharing with a server in America in your location, all of your random personal messages, and everything, and all the other apps online, all talk to each other. So, anyone else? Anyone? Yeah? Yeah, you knew that? Right, so, you accepted that when you said yes to those terms and conditions when you downloaded that app. So back to what you were saying then, so what some companies do when they get this information, they pass it on to other parties who will then go on to sell it online. That's what sometimes happens. However, there's obviously other ways that they sometimes get mobile phone data. Sometimes they might hack into O2. So obviously use a computer to get into O2 servers and get a load of mobile numbers.
How do people make viruses and send them?
How people what, sorry?
How do people make viruses and send them?
Oh, viruses. Right, so viruses, quite a few of them are already created. Obviously viruses can end up on your computer by going on websites you shouldn't be looking at. Opening emails, as I said before about the fraudulent stuff. So when you receive an email saying, oh, click on this link to get your parcel, a lot of these, what we'll do is then accidentally by clicking on that link, you will then download a virus Now, some viruses do different things, and I'll probably lose some of you, so you'll end up asleep by the end of it if I go too much into it. But basically, a lot of them, they're either there to cause damage to the computer, or they're there to gain further information. That's a big thing about what lots of them do. Yeah, go on.
You know, like, I'm asking how to do like the people, the apps to make the virus.
Oh no, it's not. Sorry, the apps themselves don't make the viruses. What they do is they share information between each other. So they don't have viruses themselves. So what they are, they look into like the background data on your phone, and they'll also look into other apps. So obviously on your phone you've got GPS. I'm going to scare all of you out buying phones now. Your parents are fighting at Christmas, obviously, yeah. So don't be scared of using those apps. But obviously, if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, I won't be obviously accepting all the terms and conditions without knowing exactly what you're accepting. So, personal information online. How many people in here have a social media account? Yeah. Right, so what's some social media accounts you've got? Yeah?
Game I play.
Okay, right.
It's also
No worries. Yeah. Yeah. Instagram? WhatsApp? Yeah. Go on. Facebook? Right. So, oh, hang on. That's alright. So a big thing about like personal information that you share online, you can share that. If you don't look at your privacy settings, you can save that. You can show that to every single person in the world that looks at that social media account. So somebody in the Australian outback could see what your bedroom looks like. Now that might look obviously a bit innocent, but that could be their gateway into talking to you. And start asking some questions and start looking at some of these offences that obviously I've talked to you about in terms of obviously with organised crime. So a big thing about your personal data, just make sure that you think whatever I'm sharing online, would I be happy with my mum looking at it? That's a big one to think of. Would I be happy for a stranger to look at that information? And a big thing about what you're showing online is you add people that you know. Now a lot of kids in high school, you're going to add everyone in a year, and then a few years down the line you're never ever going to speak to them. Now some of you will probably want to think, oh, I'll have a look at their profiles in a few years and see where they're up to. However, don't forget that with some social media platforms, the people that you've added as a friend, they've also got friends and they can see your profile. So as you can imagine, it soon gets larger and larger amount of people can see your personal data. Right? Fake information? Well, fake information, well, if you're a bit young to be on social media at the moment, like with Facebook and things like that, they've got age conditions. So quite a few of them it's set at 13, and obviously higher. Oh, fair enough, don't worry. It's okay, but at the end of the day you've got to think, who else is able to see that information? If you've got a picture up with your face, who else is able to see that picture?
Yeah, do we accept terms and conditions by saying no then?
Yeah. It's alright. So, as I say, a big thing about getting personal data, so imaging, oh, what? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's not to stop you from accepting terms and conditions, it's just saying, is it known do you know actually what you are sharing? Sorry, I couldn't quite hear what your question was. Or is that, I just answered it, sorry. Sorry, what was your question, sorry, mate? Yeah. Yeah, you can sometimes decline them, however, the apps in the actual background, they run what's called cookies. So if you go on like a website, it'll sometimes say do you accept cookies or whatever, it'll still add particular cookies. I'm going a bit too in depth there for a lot of some of the younger kids. So it'll add particular types of code that will then be able to share what information you've got on your devices.
Is it real?
No, not real cookies that you eat, that's why I thought I'm probably losing a couple of you when I said that. No, it's like a little bit of data in the background that you're probably not aware of that still shows what information there is online. So, big thing about online activity, think about what images am I putting on there. Think about, am I happy with that data being shown in the background? Because if you think, obviously we've covered it before, we've got a big we've got two lives, we've got our personal lives that we interact with between two people, and then we've got our online lives. Now, what do people think about when if I said to you, what is a digital footprint? Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
It's like when you post something.
Yeah.
Maybe like post an event and then like if you want to travel
yeah, no.
Trackable traceable record of your online activity.
Yeah, just lastly.
Trackable some data you leave behind, like if someone asks you, when you friend someone, someone asks you what's your name, they tell them your name, someone else can see that comment,
Yeah.
and then they would know, oh, you just left, we just gave you information.
Yeah, so a big thing about devices now, every single thing that you do on that device, whether it be a mobile phone, a computer, everything that you do on it gets recorded. Every single thing that you do, every picture that you take, even if you've deleted it, it gets saved in the background as what's called metadata. So that's why you hear things about, like, so if a police officer gets your phone and downloads it, we can see everything that you've done on it. We can see every website you've visited, every image that you've looked at, every website. But obviously if we do that, we've got to go through a lot of legislation to look at before we can take somebody's mobile phone. But at the end of the day, if you're going for what's called like vetting, so when you apply for a job, you're going to be asked if it's like police or something, obviously where you require what's called a DBS check, so if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be, well, it'd be more enhanced DBS checks, but they can look at what have you done, what's your digital footprint. They can look at what's your social media accounts. They'll be able to find you, because at the end of the day, they've been kids as well, and they'll think, oh, they probably not used the surname, they probably used the middle name, or they've used their nickname. So, things that you do online, just think as well, it can obviously impact your employment. If you want to go for a job later in life, it can affect that. It's not to say, don't be scared to, at the end of the day, this, like, don't be scared to go online. Don't be scared to go online, but at the end of the day, just, if you've got nothing to hide, there's nothing to worry about. If there's obviously particular offences, as I said, there's particular offences that, like, if you, obviously we all know the different types of things that you can find online you shouldn't be looking at. Those types of things, if you ever accidentally stumble across it, let your parent know. If you ever accidentally stumble across it, because at the end of the day, as police, we're not here to persecute somebody who's accidentally stumbled across something. We're there to find the people that are actively sharing it, that are actively looking for people to obviously forward it on to, people that are creating it. If you accidentally come across it, click off it, let your parent know, just say apologies, well, not apologies, but say probably something a bit more colourful, but yeah, so obviously just at the end of the day, let your parent know. Don't tell your mates, oh by the way, look at this image of what this person is doing to this, to this other person. So, at the end of the day, if you've accidentally clicked on it, just come off it. So that's obviously a big thing, but obviously internet safety online. If you don't know that person, why on earth would you be speaking to them? If that person asks you to video call them, just say, why is it they want to video call me? And also think, right, before I send a message, and before I before I send a message or before I look at something, just say, is it something I would want for me to actually get myself, so for someone to send that to me? So at the end of the day, the big thing is treat people how you want to be treated. Right? Is there any kind of questions? I know I've probably made a few of you fall asleep. Yeah. Right, has anybody got any questions? Have you got any other questions about what I do with the police? I'm sure probably some of you might have. Yeah?
You know money laundering?
You know what, sorry?
Money laundering.
Yeah.
I've heard that like illegal money from drugs or something, we've invested into something which makes money. That seems to
Yeah, so quite a few of frauds, what they'll do is they just get a load of money, and sometimes they refer to them as pyramid, well sometimes pyramid schemes, but I won't go into too much of that, because fraud is quite a difficult subject to grasp, and I think quite a few of you younger kids will probably fall asleep, but yeah, the big thing about money is they'll advertise it as something too good to be true. So they'll say, right, if your mate said to you, I'll give us a tenner, I'll give you 20 next week. Some of you might think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but how many of you think they'll actually give you that 20 quid back next, a couple of weeks or a couple of months? Probably not. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the reason that they do that is because they want to try and make it clean. So a big thing that they do is move the money. They try and move the money about as much as they possibly can. Because at the end of the day, if you suddenly have £500,000 in your bank and you don't have a job that the tax office knows about, they're going to be wondering why have you suddenly got that. The bank will wonder why have you suddenly got that amount of money. So as I say, a big thing that they do in organised crime is they try and move it around. So cryptocurrency, some people will say, oh yeah, it's untraceable. It's not true. It is traceable, but it does require a lot of computer work. But obviously, as you know, police, MI5, GCHQ, those types of organisations will know. Yeah. Oh, go on, mate, Rich. You can if you're on what's called right. So if I go to a job, right. So hang on, I'll explain it this way. Right. So we get a job that requires us to get there as fast as possible. So somebody says, I've just seen two people having a scrap, and one person has got some blood coming from his head. Now it's quite clear that we need to save that person who's got blood coming from his head. So what we do is we have what's called a grade 1. So that means there's a high risk to someone's life. So what we do is we put on our blue lights that you probably will have heard at some point, and then we'll get there as quick as possible. So yeah, we won't be able to drive on the wrong side of the road. However, that's obviously a right, as I say, for emergency services, who are exempt from obviously those types, exempt from normal road law. However, we still have restrictions. We can only go 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, for example. So yeah, we can drive on the wrong side of the road, but doesn't mean you guys can. It's only in those it's only in those circumstances where we need to save someone's life. Oh, go on, mate.
Can the police see everything that when I go online and everything?
Well, there's obviously a big thing what you probably will have heard at some point of like big brother like watching. Like yes, they can look at that data, however, there'd be a reason for like we need to act. So in terms of legislation, we are handcuffed by what's called the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act and the Investigatory Powers Act, which means that we can only look into somebody's online data and online activities when we have suspected them of criminal activity. So at the end of the day, we're not going to go look at yours because we think, oh, you've asked that question in here. We are restricted because at the end of the day, you are all, and we all have human rights. So at the end of the day, with legislation, we have to think: is it proportionate? Is it necessary for us to look at it? Is there a reason for us to do it? Right. What about you, Randy? You can try, but I think it'll taste a bit metallic if you try and eat it out.
Where is this?
Oh, sorry, right.
Doesn't the Investigatory Powers Act also mean that the borough drives your way because you send your data to the police?
They can, however, we have to request
And
it.
then after 2 days it goes.
It doesn't go after 2. It doesn't quite go after 2 years. It's kind of kept. Obviously, apologies, I know I'm overrunning. But at the end of the day, if any of you got any other questions about what it's like being in the police, I'll learn off you today.
Okay, boys, hey.
Make fake notes. Well, there's a number of different things that they try to do. However, obviously, obviously when you have a bank note, there's a number of different securities that are on there. So people will try to print it, but you need like obviously special printer. Obviously now it's plastic, so you need to have a particular type of printing. However, there's many different securities on there. So I bet many of you didn't know that if you show a ultraviolet light on a banknote, it'll show up with different writing you can't see normally. So that's a big thing that is implementing. Apologies on all
Okay. Alright, boys. I know you've got lots of questions. Okay. You guys, I know you have lots of questions, especially from the police force. You're going to want to know so many things. But Luke will be here with us. Once you guys have your games upstairs and we do the archery and things, he will be with us. You can ask as many questions as you want. But not now, sit down, sit down. We're going to be going into our groups now. You only know more than 10 minutes. We're going to divide into groups and we have some discussions that we want to have, and then we'll brainstorm if we have time. Otherwise, we can go straight for food because the food will be ready by now. It's probably is ready. So, the longer you take now to do this,